everyone. It's Lisa Starr with the StarrCast Podcast, and I have a super interesting guest for you today, somebody who's responsible for many of the amazing spa properties around the world you may have visited. So we are happy to welcome Cary Collier, the founder and principal of Blue Spas and also of Collier Concepts. Welcome, Cary.
Thank you, Lisa, very much for having me.
It's our pleasure. And you are calling in from the wilds of Montana, where you live, right?
That's correct, from Whitefish, Montana, not far from Glacier Park, which everyone should see in their lifetime.
It's on my list for sure. So when you have to fly somewhere, where do you fly from?
Good question. You may know, we have a lot of experience with flying, so that was part of the criteria for moving here.
Right.
And we have a great airport that's about 15 minutes from where we live, and it's served us well.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. So you can get out of there.
Yes, absolutely. And get back.
So, Cary, let's go back to when you were a young person. I don't know where you grew up. Where was that?
Texas. I'm a native Texan.
Okay, whereabouts in Texas?
Well, I was born in the always beautiful Lubbock, Texas, and it's part of cattle ranching, cattle feed yards. That was the business from my grandfather on my mother's side, and my dad also got into the industry. So from there, that was what I grew up with. I wanted to be a cowboy as early as I could remember. So horses, cattle, football, that was a part of my growing up.
The real essence of Texas.
Yes. Even we moved to a smaller town further up into the Texas Panhandle. It was a great place to grow up at the time. Wonderful people. I think a lot of the values I got, attitude and so on, came from the people. It was very, very friendly place, very family oriented. People worked hard. Cattle industry, oil, and the gas were certainly still thriving then. But I spent time on a horse, loved that, or playing football, and then trying to figure out girls. So,
of course, all the things a Texas boy would be doing, for sure. So you went off to college, and did you plan to study, art, agriculture, or something related to farming or cowboy life?
No. Towards the end of my high school, my dad and granddad sat me down and said, "Look, this is over. You need to pursue something else." So my major was in marketing, and I've taken a number of art classes too, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, frankly.
Who does at that age?
I guess so. I don't think my brain developed till I was 30, but. So I started in the oil industry, and first as a roughneck in the field for about 6 months, earning the right to carry a briefcase and dark glasses and be a landman in the oil industry. Economy broke, that all fell. So I ended up working for Texas Instruments in the military semiconductor group as an experiment with a marketing guy. It was a corporate job, and I was always in trouble. I never knew really what I was selling, which was just semiconductor chips going into missile systems and other thing. And once I found that out, I really wanted to leave. So I made a promise with a guy in my fraternity in college that if we hated our first job, one of us would call the other one. We'd move to Aspen and be ski bums. So one day I'm leaning over my desk, probably biting my desk, and I got the call. And 2 weeks later, I was living in Aspen.
So both of you didn't enjoy your jobs, and you packed it in.
That's correct.
And you're probably 23 at this point, 24.
22. 22. And that was a great time. I was, small town, and Lubbock is not that big either. So I was, young and naive. And so it was a great awakening, I think, to meeting people from a lot of different countries. And, it was just a lifestyle and culture, and being in the mountains. I learned to ski in high school. So, but that, and also I learned the vibe of a resort town, what can happen with just so much different kinds of people. And I never forgot that. And that's why we came to Whitefish, but I'll come to that later.
So you're in Aspen. What are you doing to earn money?
Oh my, waiting tables mostly.
Uh-huh.
I was waiting tables. Yes. And happy with that.
And having a great time, I'm sure.
Play it now. Oh, yes. Yes.
So did you get bored with that?
You know, there was a time where I realized that Aspen was just too much fun for me.
Uh-huh.
And that's all I'll say about that for now. But it was just the era that there were too many things that were new to me that I started enjoying way too much, and woke up one morning and realized I have to leave. I have to leave now. So I did. I went back to Lubbock, Texas. And I'll just go with this for a bit, if you don't mind. So
absolutely.
I got back to Lubbock, and my sister was taking an aerobics class. I didn't really know what that was. And I was starting to do triathlons and small things, training for that. And I went to an aerobics class, and it was really, really hard.
Yeah.
So I was interested, and I ended up I was just doing some research at the library, because there was no computers at that time, or I didn't have one. Right, no internet for sure. And I came across a franchise called the Waste Basket, WAIST, based in Houston. So long story short, I went, found an investor, and ended up building in Lubbock a Waste Basket franchise. One of the hardest things that I've ever done. Because I had to go to Houston, and I had to complete and pass not only how to, my instructor training, but also how to be a trainer as an owner. And so I was in Houston for 3 weeks. I was broke at the time, ended up staying in some dive hotel. But I realized in the morning, realizing I've grown up a little bit, but I'm still a bit naive. So I was seeing some ladies leaving in the morning from the hotel, and there were Mercedes and other fine cars outside. And I realized these were working girls.
Right.
So I've been there long enough that I got to know them. And once I settled that I was newly married, not to Kim. I was married before to another lady named Cary. We both
funny.
Married too young, but I let them know, look, no, I'm newly married, but this is what I'm doing. I'm having to learn all these steps to teach aerobics. And so they helped me. And especially the last night before my final, it was like 1:30 in the morning, and I'm moving across across my room.
You're practicing your dance moves.
Right,
I love it.
Right. And here, I'll put on a hat for that one. So then, from Texas. And so I'm doing all my dances, the big bang on the door, and there's three of these ladies who were really nice. I mean, they really were. And I told them my plight, and then end up helping me until probably 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my goodness.
And if that wouldn't have happened, I don't think I would have passed.
So they helped you learn your routine.
They helped me learn how to give me some moves, how to get the sequencing, and certain things, but I'd never taught a class before. And so you just never know where a helping hand is going to come from.
That is a hilarious story. I love the Mercedes outside the dive hotel, right? The dead giveaway.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Needless to say, you passed your test.
I did. And it was, it was bittersweet. I mean, it was very successful for a while. The economy broke again, but I was young. I had just turned 25, and it eventually broke me. But I remember the day to where I was just in anguish and realizing that it's over. I have to stop. So with that done, I mean, again, I was newly married, but there was nothing to do in Lubbock, Texas, that I wanted to do. So I read about I think it was, Dallas Magazine or Texas Monthly, about the spa at the Crescent that was opening at the first Rosewood Hotel, the first of its brand, the Hotel Crescent Court in Dallas. So I looked into it. I got an interview. I showed up, walked in, introduced myself, and they said, look, the project was under construction. I ended up having to teach a class to get the job. in the lobby of the hotel with workers going by and, and drills and whatnot.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so I'll put on my city hat for that. This is a good.
Oh, that's perfect.
Good memory.
City hat. I love it.
Yeah. So it was, but I got the job. I ended up being on the fitness staff as part of the opening team to open the spa at the Crescent, which at the time.
Your wastebasket training did not go to waste.
And it did not go to waste. Yes, that's right. Things you learn that you think that you never use will somehow come in handy and serve you well. Yes, that's a life lesson. And so, and it's also where I met Kim.
Oh, at the Crescent?
Yes, she was part of the massage staff there, and I was still married to the other Cary. And so I was at the Crescent. It was, again, great experience because, as I said, I mean, it would have been on trend with anything that we were doing today. And this was 1985, 86. We had a doctor of Ayurvedic medicine. We had our own spa cafe. We had this beautiful retail studio, very French.
So very ahead of its time.
It really was. And Tony Beck was a name that's kind of, people maybe forgotten about, but Tony Beck was equally one of the first women in the industry who helped to found the greenhouse with Stanley Marcus
the greenhouse
of Neiman Marcus. Yeah. So she was a rock star. She was an amazing lady. And she helped me get, which led to my next step of I actually became the first male managing director of the greenhouse, thanks to Tony Beck. So I got ahead of myself, but at the Crescent, there were just the whole model of it really stuck with me, and I learned a lot.
So you were working in fitness, but there was also a spa.
Yes. So I was really interested in all parts of it. So I was very curious. I mean, I've always been big curious. And so I started talking to as many people as I could about their departments and how this was done. And I was, I was very curious about the space as well. So I really tried to, learn as much as I could about the business, because something about it, I knew that this is really something. This is really something. And we're just getting started. It's 1980, 86. And there was really nothing at the time in the country that was around until a couple of years later when I've just gone blank with the name. It starts with a D. It's in Florida. John and Jenny Lopez did that project. It doesn't matter. Doral. Right. Doral Saturnia. Right. Which made a lot of news at the time, as it should, because it was a very, very innovative, new thinking place. So
you stayed in Texas for how much longer? You went from one Cary to Kim, and you.
Yes. So I was at the greenhouse as the managing director. I was going through a divorce, and when I was hired, I had to be married because the greenhouse was an all women spa. 40 women would come maximum to stay for a week. And we had, I think, 120 staff, and 10 of those were men. Security, some people in the kitchen. It was mainly a women's place. And they didn't really like having a man in the house, but that's another story for another day. But Kim, I wanted to bring in yoga, and Kim was a yoga instructor. And so I brought her on. I hadn't seen her, in quite some time. Again, I was pretending to be married. I had a picture of my wife on my desk.
Oh my goodness.
I would have a friend called acting as my wife. And eventually I was living a lie. So I told them, and I was fired on the spot.
Because you didn't have a wife.
Correct. There was probably some other things. I was doing some pretty ambitious, rebellious things as the first man in the house. But it'd been there a long time. I just felt like there needed to be some changes.
Boy, imagine the discrimination story you could tell, right? Man fired because he's not married. That's really
but I was at peace with it because I actually loved it. I really did. But I knew it was really a lot of angst going on, with all these things that I was trying to do. However, again, I had learned a heap on how to manage a place like this. I wasn't really I was trying to decide if I really liked management or not, but still, it was great experience. So from there, I mean, Lisa, there was no other place to really go in the United States.
You couldn't go up from there. It was the top at the time.
That was it. I mean, I was 29. I just turned 30, and in fact, I talked to John and Jenny Lopez, about working at the Doral Saturnia, and they were so sweet. I mean, I think I broke into tears talking about what all was going on in my life. And they said, you know what, this is not really for you. But they gave me some great advice to really spend some time and figure that out. I'll never forget that. So yeah, I came back. Kim and I, at that, divorce was done. Kim and I were starting to date, thankfully. Then we were living together. And she had a very successful massage business in Dallas. I think she still did some work at the Crescent, but she worked with any music performers that came to Dallas. That was her thing. She had a great business. So she helped me to get started as doing some personal training. And then I was working at an art gallery, and I was working for an association to help kids with facial deformities. And a catering company. I had like 4 jobs to support my business card that said that I was a spa consultant.
Oh, goodness.
So there was very little work in the beginning. And again, there was no computer, no internet. So I ended up, Kim was interviewing. She wanted to travel and work. She sent out a video resume to 2 companies, one in Hong Kong and one in Japan. She got the job in Hong Kong.
I love her sending a video resume. Nobody did that back then.
I know.
But Kim did.
Kim did, true. And so, I said, look, hon, go, have a great time. A few things were starting to happen with me, not much, but a little bit. There was hope. And I said, go for 6 months and come back. And she said, I don't know when I'm going to come back. I don't want to put a deadline on this. So again, long story short, I realized if I wanted to stay with Kim, I need to think about
better go to Asia too.
Yeah. But you know what? Another big thanks is to Tara Garjes. She had a project that came up in Indonesia, and I ended up getting to work on that project as a consultant. So Kim and I moved to Hong Kong, and we're starting a new life. And I'm supposed to be working on this project in Indonesia. There was a legal issue. It's a long story again with one of the owner's sons. And so I ended up working for an all Chinese company. I was the only Gualo, the only white person. Again, it was meant to be. It's this great experience on culture, how to do business, the whole concept of saving face, which is very important.
Very important there.
We do a lot of Americans to learn that concept, and feng shui. I mean, where I was going to sit, where I faced, who was going to sit by, and so on and so forth. So it was a great experience. But so while the Indonesia job was on hold for another 6 months, and we were fine. We were living in a very small 300 square foot flat on the 43rd floor in Wan Chai. I remember looking at the water in the toilet, and it was always kind of going side to side.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so that was a riot. And in Hong Kong,
I love Hong Kong, but boy, it could be old timey some parts of it.
Yeah, it was tough, but it was good. Also, good training, and certainly as an introduction to moving to Asia. So finally got a call for this project in Indonesia. And I went first. I mean, again, we've been living in the density of Hong Kong. And I wake up the next morning to a mosque called Call to Prayers. This property was called Javana Spa, and it's still there. Wonderful people that were owners, and minister and his wife of agriculture in Indonesia. So this property was in a mountain rainforest. About 2 hours outside of Jakarta, Java. And, they built a road 5 kilometers up from our staff compound, which we had our own mosque. We had staff live there. We lived there. We had trucks, and I drove a motorcycle up that hill and back every day. But
motorcycles is a way to get around there.
Yeah, but it was a wild place. I mean, it was in the middle of this nowhere in this mountain rainforest, and I do mean mountain rainforest. There was a volcano across a big valley that puffed the whole time that we were there. We had 7 waterfalls around the project. We had villages on either side of us that communicated by drums. The most sweet, gentlest people, with these great, beautiful greetings, and it was glorious.
What a wonderful
really
experience.
It was. So that was a destination spa. Come and stay for 3, 4, 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
And we had all local staff. We had to teach a lot of them how to use a knife, fork, and spoon, and set a plate, and on and on and on. But they were so gentle and gracious. It covered a lot of the stakes. So and that was a wonderful time. We were there for a year and a half. We'd done our time. We'd helped to train everyone as much as we could. But our next goal was to get to Bali.
Of course.
Yes. So we spent some time in Jakarta, about 6 months, which we met some wonderful friends there from all over the world. But we were working to get to Bali. And literally the day that we left to go to the airport, and we had to have a job really to get back into the country. So it was frantic, but we both got jobs. And
the day you left to go to the airport?
The day we left to go back to the States. We hadn't been home in a year and a half. And so we go back, we go home, we come back, and now we're in Bali. And Kim is working for the first 4 seasons in Asia, which was the 4 seasons Jimbaran Bay and Bali. I was a general manager at a small resort that just I didn't fit, and nothing fit. So I ended up coming to work as a consultant for 4 seasons. And so that really launched, I guess, what we were, we lived in hotel rooms for over 2 years.
Wow.
We ended up working with 4 seasons, but also the Sultan of Brunei was doing a project in the southern part of Bali.
That's a good client to have.
Yeah, it was tough, but still, it was a great. I think it was one of the first lessons I really had about the power and magic of a really good project team, and what could happen once everyone is working together, and what can be done. And we were spas were really new to that part of the world, and so it was new territory. And did a bit of work with Banyan Tree in Phuket as well. Their first project of the brand. So it was things that we were doing that were first, like adding a garden to a treatment room. The importance of a learning culture. And
the local, the indigenous cultures and rituals.
Yes, and plus we couldn't really import because of the cost, and also. These countries, they made things so well. So we made everything. We made all the treatment tables, everything for the salon. All the packaging for retail was made locally. Same for the uniforms. We had sarongs made that were used instead of robes in locker rooms. We used that same fabric for staff accents, and on and on. In the end, it was, a word that I've grown to kind of tiresome of, but bespoke. So it had that real crafted sense of place to it.
For this place only.
Yes, and that sounds a bit trite now, with sense of place and that. But at the time, it was brand new to all of us. It was.
You were just really at the right time, weren't you, Cary? At the onset of spa being popular, and you were in such a great spot for that, being in Asia.
Truly blessed. We are, and we were. And so that because of low labor costs, they made money right away. So everybody was happy. And from there, it just started to bloom and blossom. So there were things like some of those first spa suites and spa villas. The idea of indoor-outdoor spaces, having an outdoor space as part of your locker room. Why have everything inside? Let's go outside for the shower and the pools and
and the way that every treatment room can have a full bathroom, and things that we can't afford to do in Western culture.
Right. Yes. So that's where we got to work all over Asia, and including parts of Africa. from the Seychelles and so on. So we were. It was a wonderful thing. Plus, iSpa, we connected with them at the time to create an iSpa Asia. I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember that.
That was around for
a few years,
while.
Yeah,
and that was a great thing because no one really knew what we were doing, and the United States didn't know what Asia was doing, and vice versa. And really, the best spas in Asia, the spas in Asia were the best spas in the country.
In the
and
world.
I still think that remains the way it's still the way it is. So then we, and I'll wrap this up with there came a time to where this is late 98 to where there was the currency crisis, there was SARS, bird flu, and then Indonesia was in revolution.
Right.
And so we had to leave the country. We were watching on CNN. We were barricaded in a hotel. A lot of people, expatriates, had already left. And we were watching on CNN, watching Jakarta burn. And we had a newborn there. Our oldest daughter, Sierra, was made in Bali, born in Texas. But so we left and we came back to the United States. And again, thanks to Tara, we moved to Carmel, thinking that we were going to go back to Bali. I did some work with her. Kim did some things with her as well. It got us on our feet in the United States. We didn't know what we were going to do or where.
That's so nice. I didn't know that. For those who don't know, he's talking about Tara Grochus from Tara Spa Therapy. So that's wonderful that you've been connected that long.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, thank you, Tara. So from there, I mean, it was the time to go on our own. The time was we realized we're not going back to Bali. Things had just changed. It wasn't right. And Kim was pregnant with our second daughter, Asia. She was born. It was my turn to choose where to go. And I always wanted to live in Montana. Going back to the days of encyclopedias, looking at in my bed at night in Texas, I always wanted to live in Montana. So we upped and left and moved to the mountains.
So that's how you ended up from an encyclopedia memory as a young person. I love it. How did you decide on whitefish? Like what part of Montana to settle in?
Another meant to be thing. There was a lady that I think Kim had met that her and her husband had a tulip farm outside of in Carmel Valley. The wife was from Whitefish. And she said, "Oh my, you have to go see Whitefish," and told us, here's why and what to do. And we started in the bottom of the state and went to the north where Whitefish is located. We're not far from Canada. And we knew when we got here that, it was the last day of skiing. You can see the mountain when you drive in, watching kids jump off a bridge into the river. It was just this really, perfect thing. And so, and it's, it was a wonderful place, and it reminded me of where I grew up in a small town and how friendly that could be.
Nice for the kids, for sure.
Yes, it was a great place for them to grow up. We're empty nesters now, but they realize now how lucky they were, to live here.
Well, Cary, your journey speaks to the power of paying attention to what's presented to you, and just taking advantage of the moment and going that way, because you could not have plotted that if you tried.
No way. You're right. So that's where, I credit a few things. Is that, I think from my parents in understanding, always pay attention to the big picture. And later, certainly with Kim, is the power of believing and creative visualization. That creative visualization is a phrase from the 80s, but that was new and powerful to me as well. And also watching my grandfather and my father do deals, selling cattle on a handshake. And where I grew up, the power of your word, that meant something.
Very strong, right?
Yeah. So those things I think have been good to me, and that you're, do what you say you're going to do, and if something's wrong, then up. I'm going to pause for just a moment. I'll grab the cat. Sorry.
So we were talking about how some of the lessons you learned as a young man really stuck with you in life. And I'm interested in something you said earlier about creativity. Obviously, Cary, you had a great deal of creativity, but at that time, art was just not a thing people explored, as a something to do for work. But here you've tapped into it all of this time. How did you become confident in the creativity that you felt you had?
Thank you for that question. I doubted that for a long, long time. But I made my way through college for the most part by working with another guy, a great guy called Creative Concrete. So we did more landscape concrete, but it taught me how to read plants. And living in Bali, really, and around that culture and all the creativity that was done there, and going to watch, where they made furniture or made jewelry, and on and on and on. It finally started to click for me that I could, in more confidence, I got where I could just see these spaces being done. And so part of that vision and really believing in that looking at a drawing, which is all we have to work with. I mean, now we have
computer renderings and tools.
3D and all that. At the time, you didn't get a lot of renderings either, unless you had someone on the team that could sketch and draw. So that part, I realized, this is starting to happen for me. But anytime that I thought that I'm getting pretty good at this, then I was quickly humbled one way or another. So I just learned, look, there's always something to learn. Stay curious. So I mean, I read a lot of, I read a lot, and taught myself how to draw. Have a library always of variety of pictures. Thankfully, it's gone from the library now to the internet. So that imagery now, I mean, I'm sure for you as well, going back, looking at our work, say from 2005, it's all this narrative and really in just a few bad pictures.
Right.
That's completely flipped now, right? It's the only way to communicate. So whatever words you're using have to be carefully crafted. And that's one thing I think about what we do is that it's helped me to be a better writer. I mean, if you're going to be a consultant, I think you have to be able to write. You have to be able to create something evocative with words and not just the imagery. Well said. Spot on. Yes. So, Cary, you and the team at Blue Spas have created, dozens of amazing spas around the world. I can't wait to see the new Resorts World and use the experiential sauna. What do you think, in closing, that we should be looking for as wellness continues to evolve in the next few years? Oh, great question. I'm going to change hats for that one. Okay. And, I think that the good and the bad that have come out of the last year, I mean, it's been awful, but there has been some silver linings. And I mean, one that may sound for a lot of us in our industry, the fact of how important nature is now, it may be like, come on, we've been saying that for 20 years. But that's okay. If that message is finally is sticking, for finally, yes, categorically, whether it's wellness, real estate, or community, residential, commercial, hospitality, etc., we don't care. That's great. So from that, I believe also that, you as well, we've been touting this message for, I don't know how many years, that look, we're building a healthy facility. Shouldn't the air quality be healthy as well? And now it may be available now. I heard it is, I don't know, but it's coming soon. On your phone, you'll be able to go to a new building and you'll find out if the air quality is good or bad. I've heard that too. There will be sensors on the phone. Yes. So if you've just done a $300 million development and social media is a wrecking ball because the air quality is bad, that's a disaster. It is a disaster. And so that leads then to the whole, built environment. And that's where we have to live this. It's easy to say out loud, but it is challenging. And that is the idea of circular economy or regeneration. And the idea of, let's do something that is addressing the whole a clean ecosystem, and on and on and on. So that really has to do with how, with the people involved, access, being inclusive, and so on. So that's where, for Blue Galaxy, it really is a nature-inspired social solo wellness spaces that we want to create this clean ecosystem that has a variety of experiences that are like, going to take a vacation in the afternoon, but also there's health benefits built in to everything, whether it's the water. We're working with some great people now that really are, they have the holy grail of clean, clear, water. And that's how we're looking really at each aspect of Blue Galaxy, that it really will fit into this dogma of following regenerative principles. We don't have anything open yet. That's what we do. we need to do. Oh my, do we really need to do that? We're working hard at that. But that's our quest. I mean, consulting, we love that, and we're very also blessed with great clients, and we've never had a better team. I mean, besides Doug Chambers, Lisa Jacobs is working with us. Maggie Dunphy is working with us. Matt Laird, who's from Scotland but lives in the States, is working with us, and someone that's been with me since he used to be a neighbor. He's from Montana, Brian Lombardi. And also Kim. So, we're a small team, but we have a lot of experience. And again, going back to, I think, just a realization from Bali is that the power and magic of a great team, and that collaboration that can happen. That's when things work best. Instead of I can't talk to the architect. They don't want to talk with us. Or interior design, it just doesn't really want to coordinate on this. Projects go a lot harder. So it's the same with our Blue Spas team now, and that the collaborative is the good compared to just one person waving a flag and saying, "No, that's my idea."
No, I think you're right. Harnessing the power of many minds, and I like your statement about power and magic of the team. And I think your team is really good at power and magic of the space, that the spa is in. So it's a very good message, a self-fulfilling prophecy, if it will, for Blue Spas about power and magic. Well said.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you again for joining us today, Cary. It was really great to hear your story, Cary Collier. And
thank you very much, Lisa.
I will see you soon.
Okay. Thank you so much. Wish you well. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.